One's called the scariest movie ever made. The other one made people walk out of the theater. But only one can be the scariest. Let's find out. Today we compare two legendary horror movies to see which one is actually scarier. On one end, we have The Exorcist, a classic horror movie that is highly regarded as the scariest movie of all time. It's in the paranormal horror subgenre and one of the most successful demonic possession movies ever made. On the other end, we have Hereditary, a modern horror movie that is also highly regarded as the scariest movie of all time. It's in the psychological and supernatural subgenres of horror, and it is what jump-started the elevated horror craze of the late 2010s. But which one is scarier? Here's how this works. We're putting these two horror icons in a 5-round death match. No priests, no seance candles, just cold-blooded comparison. We'll judge them across 5 terrifying categories, and for each round, the scarier movie gets the point. At the end, whoever has the most points walks away the winner, and the other banished to the still scary but not scariest zone. Here's the breakdown. Round 1, atmosphere and tone. The vibes, the dread, the feel. Which film oozes fear just by existing? Round 2, scariest scene. The moment that made you cover your eyes. We'll put each film's most infamous scare under the microscope. Round 3, performance and realism. Which cast sells the terror? Who made it feel real? Round 4, cultural impact and legacy. Did it change horror forever? Did it haunt your parents and your little cousin? Round 5, tiebreaker. If we end up in a dead heat, I'll break the tie with my own final verdict on which movie is truly scarier. Let's begin. Round 1, atmosphere and tone. This is about the vibe before the monsters show up, before the screams. We're talking that quiet, gnawing dread that creeps in and never lets go. The Exorcist gets you right when the movie starts. From the opening shots in Iraq to the eerie stillness of Georgetown, this film feels cursed before Reagan ever touches a Ouija board. Director William Friedkin uses stillness like a weapon. Every scene drips with a kind of quiet tension, like the movie itself knows something that you don't. The pacing is slow, deliberate. There's no jump scares, no loud cues. The horror creeps in like rot under the floorboards. You feel watched, judged, and worse, damned. And then there's the religious element. The Exorcist taps into spiritual horror. The fear that evil doesn't just exist, it wants you. It's not afraid to ask, what if demons are real and you're not strong enough to fight them? Meanwhile, Hereditary doesn't creep in. It suffocates you. The atmosphere here is soaked in grief. It's like the movie starts after the horror. Everyone's already broken and you're just waiting to see who cracks next. The lighting is cold. The rooms feel too big. Even the miniature dollhouses feel off, like the characters are being controlled or watched by something we can't see. Director Ari Aster frames everything with sterile precision, and yet you're never comfortable. The way the camera lingers, the weird sound design, especially Charlie's tongue click. It's designed to make your skin crawl. And it works. Also, shout out to Colin Stetson's score. It sounds like grief screaming into a pillow. And unlike The Exorcist, which builds up to supernatural evil, Hereditary feels evil from the start. Something's wrong. You don't know what, but you can feel it. And when the truth hits, it's not a twist, it's a trapdoor. Although The Exorcist definitely has a creepy atmosphere, I have to give the point from round 1 to Hereditary. This movie makes you feel like you are also choking on a peanut butter allergy. Round 2, scariest scene. This is the moment where horror peaks, where your jaw drops, your blood runs cold, and your body says no. These are the scenes people talk about on the car ride home. Let's start with The Exorcist. There's no easy way to say this. The crucifix scene is one of the most disturbing moments in horror history, and not just for what's shown, but what it dares to suggest. You're not watching a typical possession scare, you're watching a child's body being desecrated by an unseen evil. It's visceral, it's taboo, And even by today's standards, it's still almost unwatchable. What makes it worse is that it doesn't feel like a movie scene. It feels like you're witnessing something you were never supposed to see. And then her mother walks in. The horror doesn't cut away. It escalates. And what really adds a cherry on top is that head turn. Your head should not move like that. And that is what sets The Exorcist apart. It is not content to scare you. It wants to scar you. Now switch to Hereditary. The brilliance of this scene is that it sneaks up on you. It doesn't come with scary music. There's no demon, no shadows, just a brother driving his sister home from a party. Charlie sticks her head out the window, and in 1 second, everything changes. And her head's gone also. But here's the real horror. It's not just what happens. It's what comes after. Peter's reaction, sitting frozen in the car, unable to even turn around. His eyes wide, his breathing shallow. And then he drives home, slowly, silently, and goes to bed. No screaming, no music, just unbearable silence. And when Annie finds Charlie's body the next morning, that scream, it's not cinematic. It's raw human grief, the kind that makes you flinch. It doesn't feel like acting. It feels like something you were never meant to hear. Annie then becomes so scary later on in the film that I was afraid of my own mom. And she's an accountant. What you gonna do, throw a calculator at me? In The Exorcist, the horror is otherworldly. In Hereditary, it's real-life trauma wearing a horror mask. For this round, the point goes to The Exorcist. What happens in the beginning of that scene is truly terrifying, and the end is nightmare fuel. Hereditary's scene is just dread and dark sadness. Round 3, performance and realism. Horror doesn't work without believable reactions. If the characters don't feel real, the fear doesn't either. You're not just watching a scary movie. You're watching how people break under pressure. What makes The Exorcist so unforgettable isn't just the demonic spectacle. It's the acting that grounds it. First, there's Linda Blair, only 14 years old, and she delivers a performance that shocked audiences, traumatized her career, and to this day still feels dangerous. She doesn't just play possessed, she makes it visceral. Her voice changes, her posture contorts, and her entire presence transforms. And there's a reason people still debate whether it went too far. She was allegedly injured during filming, and William Friedkin's directing methods were notoriously brutal, but the result is a performance that feels real no matter how unreal the situation. Then there's Ellen Burstyn, who plays Chris McNeil, Reagan's mother. Her descent into desperation isn't overreacted. It's almost quietly devastating. You can feel her slipping from skepticism to helplessness to full-blown horror. And let's not forget Jason Miller as Father Karras, a priest who isn't sure he even believes anymore. His guilt over his mother's death, his internal war with faith. He's not fighting the devil, he's fighting doubt. Together, the performances in The Exorcist create a world that feels grounded. A mother, a priest, a real child being consumed by something they can't understand. Now Hereditary. This is where Toni Collette comes in and burns the house down. She plays Annie Graham, an artist, a grieving daughter, and ultimately a mother unraveling in the worst way imaginable. Her performance is so layered, it's hard to even call it horror. It's a tragedy, a breakdown, and a descent into supernatural madness all in one. Let's talk about that dinner scene. She explodes on her son Peter, and it's not some over-the-top horror monologue. It's pain, raw and undigested. "I am your mother," she screams, and it doesn't sound written. It sounds ripped from real life. And Alex Wolff as Peter is criminally underrated. The way he breaks down over the course of the film, the shaking, the twitching, the silent sobs, the scream in class, it all feels too real. He's not reacting like a horror movie character. He's reacting like a kid who knows he's in hell and can't get out. Even Millie Shapiro as Charlie, in the short time she's on screen, gives off an eerie discomfort that lingers long after she's gone. She doesn't even have to speak much. Her stillness is in the horror, and that mouth clicking. The Exorcist has classic, grounded performances that make possession feel real for the first time on screen. But in Hereditary, the acting feels so real, it feels dangerous. Like you're watching something you should not be witnessing. and that's why it is so horrifying. The point for this round goes to Hereditary. Round 4, Cultural Impact and Legacy. A horror movie doesn't need to be a best picture to be scary. But when a film changes the genre forever, and it becomes part of the cultural DNA of fear, that's legacy. Let's start with the heavyweight, The Exorcist. This wasn't just a horror film, this was an event. People fainted in the theaters, some ran out screaming. Others claimed they were possessed just watching it. In the UK, it was banned from certain towns for 25 years. Theaters handed out barf bags. A woman in one audience reportedly broke her jaw fainting and sued Warner Brothers. The Vatican publicly condemned the film. That only made it more iconic. Behind the scenes, there were reports of fires, injuries, and even deaths surrounding the production, leading many to believe that the set itself was cursed. But beyond the headlines, The Exorcist created the blueprint for the modern possession film. Every exorcism movie since owes it a debt. The flickering lights, the Latin chanting, the showdown between faith and evil, it all started here. And it wasn't just scary, it was respected. It was the first horror movie ever nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, something that wouldn't happen again for decades. It proved horror could be prestige, and it did with pea soup and profanity. Now, let's talk about the modern masterpiece, Hereditary. Hereditary didn't cause fainting, it caused something worse. Silent, stunned audiences walking out of the theaters, unable to speak. It was a different kind of cultural quake. People didn't scream during the film, they processed it for hours, days, and weeks. Reddit threads exploded with theories, Easter eggs, cult symbols, and demon lore. It helped kick off what many call the elevated horror movement alongside films like The Witch, Midsummer, and The Lighthouse. Suddenly, horror wasn't just for jump scares. It was about grief, trauma, and family systems breaking down under supernatural pressure. And it changed the conversation around horror performances. People argued Toni Collette was robbed of an Oscar nomination, and to this day, she's cited as one of the greatest performances in horror, maybe ever. It also introduced us to Ari Aster, who instantly became one of the most talked about horror directors of the decade. His visual language, wide, sterile shots, and that creeping sense of inevitability became instantly recognizable. The Exorcist broke through the mainstream with controversy and Oscar gold. Hereditary redefined modern horror and birthed a new subgenre. Both changed the game, but one laid the foundation and the other renovated the house of horror. And I have to give this point to The Exorcist. Numbers don't lie. Round 5, tiebreaker and final verdict. We have actually come to a tie here, so let's see what I think. The Exorcist taps into deep-rooted fears about religion, possession, and the existence of evil you can't see but can feel. It crosses lines most horror movies won't touch, especially with a child at the center of the horror. Long silences, cold settings, and a slow, suffocating pace make the entire film feel cursed. Even if you've never seen it, you know it's scary. It's fear passed down like a horror myth. But Hereditary is real-life trauma. It begins with grief, mental illness, and generational pain. The kind of horror that hits before anything supernatural happens. The performances feel so real, they're almost unbearable to watch. It's not jump scares, it's emotional devastation. The horror unfolds like a conspiracy, where something dark has been pulling the strings all along, and there's no way out. You don't scream, you sink. And when the final horror reveals itself, it's not a twist, it's inevitable. The Exorcist is about what happens when evil invades the body. Hereditary is what happens when it starts in the soul. One is classic horror, the other is modern despair. But both are unforgettable. But what's my pick for the scariest? Hereditary wins. Not because demons, cults, or decapitations, but because it feels like you could live it. And nothing's more terrifying than that. But hey, that's just me. Let me know which one is scarier for you down in the comments below. Also, let me know if you've ever puked or thrown up or fainted in the movie theater. Let's see if that's a myth or not. Drop that down below. And also drop off which movies you would like to see go face to face. Please drop a like and hit that subscribe button, or you will find out your bloodline is secretly involved in a demonic cult. Thank y'all so much for watching, and have a blessed day. Peace!